Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Hey, welcome again to another successful social and gathering here with our pre-deployment brief. I appreciate everyone's attendance here and the enthusiasm that you bring with you. I saw a lot of people outside that I hadn't seen before, and it's good to always see new faces coming here to sign up and be part of the team and be part of the membership in the bigger family that comprises 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines. So again, thank you so much. And again, I want to reach out and thank our host, which was the City of San Clemente, the Chamber of Commerce, Heritage of San Clemente, Rod's Tree Service, not Mariners, but Fisherman's Restaurant for a lot of the cooking and the food that was brought in here. And we're going to kick this thing off with a little opening here from one of our hosts. But before we go any further, please, if you have one of these, turn the sound off, the ringer, before we get started. And for those of you that are viewing this via live stream, moms, dads, and those that can't be here, please, if you want to be a part of this in the conversation, you have a question, please, my text, you can text me your questions. I'm going to be monitoring this throughout the presentation. Is 760-277-3491. That is my text. So if you want to ask a question during the brief, we'll do our best to answer it. If by some chance it doesn't get through or gets delayed and we miss it, I will go back through, compile questions, and we'll make sure that every single one gets a reply to ensure that we answer faithfully all the questions that are being asked. And that's also including the recording of this presentation that is being done. We are live streaming this over the PCC channel, and we'll get a recording of it. So this will be available in case you missed something. You can go back and view it again, okay? Because I know I always turn to my left and right, ask questions and have sidebars, and I miss something, and it's like, what did they say? Well, this is your chance to go back and view it, all right? So without further delay, I'm going to introduce Anna. She runs the child ministry here, and she was the one that a lot of you saw when you were signing up your kids, but she's going to talk about some of the great things that Pacific Coast Church provides. And then after that, our colonel will be coming up, Lieutenant Colonel Redinger, followed by the Sergeant Major, our chaps, the MFLAC, and then myself, and then we have a special guest at the end that'll be giving a presentation.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. On behalf of Pacific Coast Church family, we want to welcome you and thank you so much for coming today. It's been a joy to have you here to host this event alongside some other small businesses in our community. So like he said, my name is Anna. I am the Kids Ministry Director at Pacific Coast Church, which means that I oversee programming for kids age 0 all the way to 5th grade. And so if you are looking for a church to come on Sundays and to get connected with, you're more than welcome to come check out our church. We are here on Sunday mornings. We got 2 services to different times. You can check out the details on our website, but I do want to share with you just a few programs that we offer during the week. So we have MOPS, which stands for Mothers of Preschoolers, but we actually open it up to expectant mothers and on. And so this is a program where if you're a mom and you have little ones, you can come and enjoy a community with other women in the same stage of life that you are, and you can drop off your kids in our kids ministry where they'll be loved on and just have fun in there. And then we also have programming on Wednesday nights for our kids 0 through 5th grade, just in case you have any older kids. And then we also offer the gathering, which is open for all women, whether you have kids or not. You come here Friday mornings, and we also have a study that we go through. So anyways, that's just an example of what we have to offer during the week, but you can always visit our website, pacificcoastchurch.org, to find out more. And so, yeah, again, on behalf of Pacific Coast Church, we appreciate you and your entire family for serving our country. So thank you so much. There you go. You're welcome. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right.
Okay, everybody. One, it's good to see everybody out here, as well as anybody who may be watching this recording. I'm confident that there is a much larger group that is going to end up watching this at some point or another in between now and deployment. So look, here's the purpose of this brief here, right? We call it the pre-deployment brief, but really this is just so that we can communicate to everybody what this thing is potentially going to look like, really, and what to expect as we all get out of here for deployment. Now, I understand it's still, a month and a half, 45 days, something like that before we deploy. The purpose behind putting this brief here right now is so that everyone can get information and then prepare themselves and prepare their families over the course of the leave block. Because oftentimes when you get that information right before leave block, you are unable to mentally prepare yourself or your family for the thing that is getting ready to come, and it comes as a little bit more of a shock. So we wanted to give everyone the information as early as possible, and couldn't really find a better time to do it than right after we got off ship. So a lot of this information is really going to be the same information that we've received before, but I'm just going to continue to give that information so that everybody internalizes it and we can drive forward. I'm super happy to see people with their spouses, their kids running around here. Like I am eternally grateful to the extended family we've got here in the Bastards and for those who are listening. So let's talk about this thing real quick. So again, this is me. If you haven't met me before, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Redinger. I am, call sign Bastard 6. I'm the CO of the BLT. The reason why I put pictures up here, even though my kids are not here right now, because they are finishing school right about now. But I do have 4 beautiful little girls, and so the information that I am going to give to you is not coming from it's not coming from a place of ignorance, trust me. Like, I have a family. I have my beautiful wife, Beth, here, who will come up and say some things. But this is for you, and this is for the families, and I know it because I have one, and these are the things that I have to pay attention to, and that Beth has to pay attention to, and our kids need to know. And I know that many of you, if not most or all, are in the same type of situation. Okay, so to introduce some of the command team here, I've got Major Carl Quist, who's the XO of the BLT. He just raised his hand, doesn't want anybody to pay attention to him. Sergeant Major Crumpton, right here, the right-hand man. Operations officer is a guy named Major Tyler Simmons. Hopefully he is sleeping right now because he has been working like a madman for the past 6 or 7 months. Our operations chief, it says Master Sergeant, but it's Master Gunny Jay. He is probably also sleeping. We've got Gunner Agee, Chief Warrant Officer 2 Agee. We've got Lieutenant Aaron Walling, who is our chaplain, who many of you know, best chaplain in the Marine Corps, I promise you. And then we've got the DRC, Mr. Mark Sperling. So that is the command team, and we can talk about how to get a hold of many of those people later on here in a brief. Okay, so this is what the BLT looks like, all right? Last time I briefed you, there was not a large red circle around the ACVs. So this is one of the things that happened, right? So we were, just prior to this last at-sea period, the Commandant of the Marine Corps made a decision to pull amphibious combat vehicles away from us, all right? That has some second and third order consequences, and so we are still working through those second and third order consequences. Did not have time during our latest at-sea period to figure that piece out, right? So the reason why I put this up here so that everybody knows is that some of those consequences or some of the things that are gonna come for that is that certain people may be moving ships, all right? Still just the 3 ships, but those of you who have found a way to, or have found an understanding of where your husband or where your Marine is going to be, that may change for some people in the battalion landing team, right? People may be moving specifically from the anchorage, probably over to the Macon Island, but who knows how far that thing will go. You know those little plastic puzzles you have, right? Most of these people are not as old as I am. Anybody ever seen those little plastic puzzles where you go to move one little piece and there's a hole in it, right? And you keep trying to move the things, but there's always a little hole in the plastic thing. I think some people are nodding up and down. Some people are like, this guy's crazy, right? That's what it's like. So we're going to try to make some moves, and then there will be second and third order moves that will occur from there. But it's a big thing that the entire battalion landing team is dealing with right now, and we've got to figure out what that means over the course of the coming weeks. But we still do have an artillery battery. Cox of Marines, how you doing, buddy? We've got an LAR company, which is good. Grant McCloskey is characteristically not here. And then a platoon of combat engineers. Only those guys get that joke. All right. Okay, so we've got headquarters company. We've got Captain Alan Poe and First Sergeant Trevino. Those two guys right there leading up headquarters and service company, or heads and skulls, as we like to call it, or hateful. We've got Captain Billy Vivian and First Sergeant Woodley from Echo Company over there, the meatheads. We've got Captain Sam Ulrich and First Sergeant Brunn. First Sergeant Brunn is not here today. But that's Sam Ulrich. Golf Company, we got Joker 6, Shan Mandrare, and then First Sergeant Cortez. First Sergeant Cortez is not here right now, right? I don't think he is. Okay. All right, and then Weapons Company, we got Captain Fletcher and First Sergeant Verdusco. First Sergeant Verdusco is back there, and Whiskey 6, still here somewhere? Oh, there you are. What's up, brother? Okay, and then we've got the one who is not here and never is. Are you here? There you are. Hey, what's up, Grant? How you doing, buddy? All right, he made it. All right, so we got Captain McCloskey, who's here, and First Sergeant Alva, who is heading up our light armored reconnaissance company. And then we've got Captain Cox of Marines and First Sergeant Soto Nieves for our artillery battery, and they are crushing it. Okay, and then we've got a platoon of CEB, Spence Peterson and Gunny Fletcher, who I don't think I saw Spence today. Here, you here? What's up, buddy? How are you? All right. Okay, so again, what have we been doing? All right, bottom line here, we're preparing the BLT to fight from ship and win in a war. Like that's really what we've been doing for the past, 11 weeks over the summer that we have all been gone. All right, we briefed everybody up on this prior to our execution. We tried to give everyone enough of a heads up as to what that would look like. But now that we're on the opposite end of that thing, how did that feel? Probably a little rough, right? It has been a long time coming getting to this point, right? But all of that time that we spent on ship, we've been training, fighting from ship, conditioning ourselves to do this thing. So we've all come together as a BLT and as a MU and have been conducting training from those three ships, as you all know, right? But those three at-sea periods existed so that we can get to this point where we can say we are ready and prepared to, if you're looking at the map, turn left and start going across the Pacific Ocean. Okay, again, just so that we level everybody and we level the field here, a MU, again, is ships, 3 of them, the Macon Island, the Anchorage, and the John Paul Murtha, right? You got the JPM, the slowest ship in the Navy. We've got the Air Combat Element, which is a whole bunch of pilot folks doing pilot folk things with a bunch of aircraft, and it's a good crew of fools over there. You got the Ground Combat Element, which is us, and then you got the Logistics Combat Element, which is led by one of my friends, Faith Zimmerman. But all 3 of them are Lieutenant Colonel commands. Obviously, us being one of them. My buddy Rico, Lieutenant Colonel Berea, is heading up all the aviation assets, and then Lieutenant Colonel Zimmerman. So the bottom line here is we are part of a much larger organization. So this is not just the battalion landing team getting on ship and going. It is the battalion landing team getting on ship with a whole bunch of other cats and dogs and candlestick makers, plus a command element, a colonel, and his staff over the top of us to help lead us. Okay, so this again, the MU training plan that we had. We are, as you know, in September. So next thing on there is that little thing that is supposed to be a cool explosion that is not as cool now looking at it. That is the Marine Corps ball. And then we're going to start our port starboard lead block immediately following that, which is, honestly, it's going to be awesome because it's a really long lead block. And it's probably the longest I've seen in a very long time for pre-deployment. But then we're going to deploy early November. The actual date of that deployment is tentatively scheduled for really the end of the first week. All right, I will allow the Marines to talk to you about what that date is, because I think that if I communicate it in this venue, that will create some operational security problems. All right, but the Marines do, however, know that date, and then the Marines can communicate that to you. But if I blast it out over, what's that? Huh? Oh yeah, I will. Yeah, sorry, I'm just communicating with my wife here. Look, so ask your Marines what that date is, and if they don't know, then they need to ask their chain of command what that date is. Just know that it is in early November, and if I communicate it over this venue, I could potentially get myself in trouble and the whole crew in trouble. So I'm not going to do that. That deployment is going to be anywhere from 7 to 9 months, and we are going to turn left and we're going to go into the Indo-Pacific, and we're going to talk about what that is going to look like here pretty soon. Okay, here's my thoughts on the deployment. All right, because the next question that everybody has, and I know it, right, because all of the Marines have these same questions, and rightfully so, you have those questions, right? Where are you going and when? The answer to that question, I cannot give you, right? I just can't, right? One, there's some operational security problems with that, but two, I actually don't know, right? So I need everyone to read kind of this sentence. We are a forward-deployed crisis response force afloat, postured to respond to contingencies across the realm of military operations and at the direction of the combatant commanders and the Department of Defense. What does that mean? What that means is they're going to put all of us aboard these 3 ships. We're going to go out into the Pacific. There's a couple of places that we are planned to go, but that does not mean that we're going to go to those places. All right, so if you can just be with me here for a second, if we're thinking pretty big picture, all right? There will only be one MEU out there, right? And these big generals that run certain regions of the world, when we go into their area of operations, we are their reserve. We are the ones who can do something about problems that they have. And as we know, the world is a pretty weird place, right? Especially the place that we are going. Right now, we are planning to go to the Indo-Pacific, right? And the Indo-Pacific is, the big place that everybody is worried about right now. CENTCOM has been the thing for about 2 decades. Central Command, meaning out in the Middle East. But it has transitioned in recent years to the Indo-Pacific, meaning the South China Sea, the Taiwan Straits, Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, that whole area out there with all the islands out there in the Pacific. So our plan is to go out. I can tell you we're going to end up going to, we're going to go to Hawaii on the way out. And then we're going to, after we leave Hawaii, it's anyone's game, right? We will be out there, and the Indo-Pacific commander, an admiral, a 4-star admiral, a guy named Admiral Aquilino, if he has problems, he's going to send us to go take care of those problems. Right? So those problems could include anything from, small-scale insurgent activity in the Philippines, to hurricanes, to mudslides, to non-combatant evacuation operations, meaning that a country starts to fall apart and we need to get all the Americans out of there, like what they did in Afghanistan. Anything like that, really anything, right? So we, as an organization, will do windows, and we will be prepared to do anything at the direction of the Department of Defense, the combatant commander being Admiral Aquilino, or really, the President of the United States. But the thing to remember is that we are the only force that is out there that will be able to go take care of that thing. We are specifically designed to be able to do that, and that was why we've been training throughout the course of this summer. Okay, now I tell you that because it would not be professionally appropriate or morally right for me to tell you exactly where we're going and when. There's operational security concerns with that, but on top of that, those things become lies eventually, right? As things change. And I need to be completely transparent with you, and all your Marines should be completely transparent with you. And my goal is for the spouses and families here to understand that when your Marine tells you he doesn't know where he's going or he can't tell you where he's going, he's not lying, because this is the nature of the way that these things are. We are going out into the Indo-Pacific, and we are going to conduct operations at the discretion of people who are, several pay grades above us, right? And we're going to respond to contingencies that we can neither predict nor control. And so that's what we need to be prepared for as a force, and what we need to be prepared for as an extended family, all right? So some thoughts here. Communication. I want to talk about communication a little bit. Who here has had a deployment before? Probably quite a few of us. All right, if that deployment was not a Westpac MEU, or a MEU in general, beyond the 31st MEU, then what I'm going to tell you is may be shocking, but it is remarkably important. So I need to get this to you. Okay, communication will be very, very limited. All right, on these ships, if you can imagine what these ships are, these obviously aren't cruise ships, right? And we've probably had some difficulty communicating with our Marines and with the battalion during these last ship ops. However, every once in a while a text message will come through or a Marine calls back, whatever that may be. The reason why they're able to do that is because when you get close enough to to San Clemente Island or the Camp Pendleton coast, you can then pick up cell service again and call, especially if you're sitting on the flight deck. That's what most of the Marines have been doing. When we move past this thing, when we move past the point of cell phone service out into the middle of the ocean, there is no Wi-Fi on the ship. And Captain Cox was talking about this. I think that there's Wi-Fi on aircraft carriers, you were saying? On a carrier strike group, right? There is no Wi-Fi on our ships, right? They never upgraded these things in that way, right? They're still the same warships we were using decades ago. And so on these warships, the means by which the Marines can communicate is incredibly limited. And let me see if I can describe it to everybody here, all right? There are, I think, 3 phones on each ship that calls out. 2 of those phones are assigned to the ship's captain and the ship's XO. Right? On top of that, then there are limited places where you can put computers, right, that will get hooked up that have access to an email account, right? Those email accounts are generally reserved for the staff members who have to do work. However, we have places that, like the chaplain manages and hooks up. Like we have morale and welfare centers on the ship in places like the chapel and in the library where we get a couple of computers set up, right? And then the Marines can go in there and cycle through there, and they will likely stand in line, and the time that they get with that computer will likely be limited, if that makes sense to everybody, all right? So the picture I'm trying to paint to you is that from a communication standpoint, we should expect long times between contact, unless we are pulling into port somewhere where we might be able to get some Wi-Fi, all right? I'm not telling anybody that to scare them or anything like that. It's to manage expectations, and everybody should know, right? Because if your Marine is not communicating with you, it's not their fault, right? Now you take that and you add on top of it, there is something that the Navy does called MCON, right? And that's emissions control. Now this is a way that the ship is able to hide from specific threats out in the Indo-Pacific, right? And make sure that any potential adversaries are not able to find the ship. So what they do is for extended periods of time, they shut down all communication. Email, phones, everything. So we've been practicing that over the course of the past 3 at-sea periods, so much so that the Marines are unable to use their Bluetooth earbuds when they're trying to work out in the gym. Like it is that serious, and it's a security concern for the ships, and it is in our best interest to stop using the things that actually communicate external to the ship. Okay. That being said, all right, there's another piece of this that I want to talk about. There is operational security. All right. Where these ships go and what they are doing will be heavily tracked by some of our adversaries overseas. We do not want to help the adversary track where we are. Everyone gets those briefs about operational security and all of that stuff, but one of the things I would just ask that everyone is a little bit cautious about is when you do get when we finally do come into a place where we get whatever it is, cell service, right? And a Marine sends you, or your Marine sends you the picture of him, whatever, training in the Philippines or something like that. I ask that we try to be just careful about posting those pictures on social media, putting them in places where people can gather that information. And if you do, please be vague about dates, times, locations, these types of things. That will be helpful for the entire force as we go forward. Does that make sense to everybody? Good? All right. Enough on that. Okay, Red Cross messages. And I feel like I'm just giving you guys all a bunch of bad news, right? But I'm trying not to. I'm trying to just be very, very frank and very, very transparent about this. Okay, Red Cross messages. Does everyone know how to get a Red Cross message to their Marine? I see some people shaking their head no. Okay, if you have an emergency here at home, right, and your Marine is aboard ship and you cannot communicate with them, and you're trying to get some piece of information to them. Say you're at the hospital, you're sick, or your mother is sick, or something happens, or the dog dies or something. Like, not that that's gonna happen. And you wanna get that message to them, you can call the American Red Cross, right? And the American Red Cross, and through Mark, will have a means by which you can communicate with us aboard ship, even if you have not communicated with us or heard from us or your Marine in 3 weeks, right? The American Red Cross will find a way to get us that information. Does that make sense to everybody? But the first step is contacting both Mark as well as the American Red Cross, and Mark can help walk you through how that works so that that message, the way that looks, is that message comes to us aboard ship, right? We will get that message, and then we will find a way to get that message to the Marine, right? And then we will find a way to take that Marine and get them to a place where they can make a phone call, likely up with one of the 3 phones on the ship that actually dials out. Everybody good on that? All right, just for preparations there, okay. Now, one of the other things that I need to communicate to everybody is that we've been in the land of milk and honey here for a little while with respect to family emergencies, and we've been able to, thankfully, help the Marines manage those family emergencies to the best of our ability while we've been aboard ship. Once we turn left and we get probably past Hawaii, our ability to do that will be very, very minimal. All right, so the Red Cross message that comes, the rule and the policy is what's called in loco parentis. Okay, so if a Marine is aboard ship, unless the emergency, and it's about like life, limb, or eyesight of a person inside of their immediate family, right? Unless it is that, then the Red Cross message is informational, essentially only. And so we will then take that Marine and get them to a place where they can call or send an email and communicate with you and help you try to manage the crisis that you're dealing with. However, the Marine will not be able to come home once we are forward deployed. Right? The Marine will not be able to come home unless it is their mother, father, brother, sister, wife, or kids. Everybody clear on that? Okay. All right, now again, all right, float plan. So I will tell you this, all right? I know that it's gonna look like this. We're gonna go left, we're gonna hit Hawaii. That'll be somewhere later November timeframe. We'll go to Hawaii, and then we're gonna kick, once we're done with Hawaii and a little bit of training there, we're gonna kick west, right? We're going to go to a number of places, we think, but two of the places that I know are on the docket for us are the Philippines and Thailand. I know that those are named operations that we are assigned to out there. The one in the Philippines is called Balikatan. It's a really good training exercise with the Filipino Marines. And then there's another thing called Cobra Gold in Thailand with the Thai Marines, right? I will not be passing the dates on when those things are, but those two things I think are actually going to happen, right? But again, those things could very quickly change and shift. But we're pretty excited about going and doing those things. So at least Hawaii, the Philippines, and Thailand to conduct some training. And then there are other things that are in there for just mostly informational. And I think that they will either move left or right or disappear. But other things like Singapore, potentially some time in Indonesia doing training, and all of these things will be training related. We will get opportunities potentially to have a little bit of liberty in a couple of days in a port visit in some of these countries. And those will be the times where communication will come up pretty rapidly, and you'll be able to communicate with your Marine for a couple of days pretty consistently, and then when we get back on ship, it'll drop off again. But there will be a little bit of fun to be had on this deployment, going out and doing that. But again, talking about the order of those things or the dates of those things is really kind of it's a useless academic conversation because the nature of these things change so much. All right, and then that brings me to my next point. All right, one of the things that I do know about these types of deployments is that the rumor mill goes crazy. All right, and I ask that everybody help us with that rumor mill, right? And this is just from personal experience, and this is from having seen it a few times. Rumors become expectations, become promises, become broken promises. All right, so if you're hearing things through the grapevine and it is not through the official channels associated with the way that we've established this, if it is not coming from Mark or coming directly from me, right, back out to everybody here via some sort of message traffic, then that thing is nothing but a rumor. All right, often what happens is it's actually pretty great. It'll be a Lance Corporal somewhere will say, hey, I heard we're going to Iraq, right? He'll say that to his buddy. His buddy will then pass it to his other buddy. And then eventually it gets to everyone, right? And eventually it gets to me and I'm like, we're not going to Iraq. I haven't heard anything about Iraq, right? But it gets said so many times, 2 days later I'm like, are we going to Iraq? Right? And then the whole staff starts planning for Iraq, right? The whole staff starts planning to go into Iraq, and we haven't received a task to go into Iraq or do anything crazy like that, and then someone manages to fire off an email from ship, probably the same Lance Corporal that started the email, sends that email out to his wife or his brother or his mother or his cousin or whatever, and it gets there, and then it gets put on Facebook, and then it gets on Instagram, and then everyone says the 13th MEU is going to Iraq, right? By the time that we are able to turn that thing back around, right, and then someone slaps me and says, you're not going to Iraq, idiot, right? Now I turn back around and I get mad at the Marines. I'm like, guys, we're not going to Iraq. Then the Marines are upset with me because I promised them Iraq, I guess, right? And then we don't get that thing, right? And then everybody is disappointed, right? We're not going to Iraq. And then that word never filters back to the families, and the families think we're all in Iraq, and we're not communicating with them, and it's because everyone has gone into Iraq and someone hit us with a thermonuclear weapon. Then people are asking the Commandant of the Marine Corps what happened to their Marine. Like, I'm not kidding. This is how this stuff works, and it's because of the communication restricted environment, right? Like, it's just the way that these things have a tendency to look. So I ask that, we as a group attempt to try to control that thing. It will happen 2 or 3 times, and it's gonna be hilarious when it does, but oftentimes what that does is those things turn into promises that don't happen, or they turn into expectations that shouldn't be there, right? And it drives a lot of anxiety and a lot of friction for everybody. So I ask that if we're not hearing the information about where we're at and what we're doing through the official channels, I ask that we just kind of ignore that information. All right. So transitioning forward here, what we've got coming up, this is a really lame slide, but we are going to Las Vegas and going to the ball. I want to thank everyone who bought tickets for the ball. I know that they were expensive, and I know that that for many of us that's a huge stretch. What are you laughing about, Sergeant Major? It is a totally lame slide. So I was adjusting the slide, and then I ran out of time, and I saved the brief and just didn't look at it. There's supposed to be information on this. Sergeant Major, do you have any information that you want to pass about the ball or anything you want to clarify for everybody?
We're sorry about the tickets. We understand the prices, but the Marines and sailors and some civilians that we have, we managed to sell 1,400 tickets. So it's going to be a party and quick over after the Marines. Have a good time.
Bastard 9 at his best. All right. No, hey, I think that the ball, and I know we've sold all 1,400 tickets, right? And it is going to be a really, really good time. And for those of you who have not experienced the Marine Corps ball yet or have not had the privilege or the honor to go do something like that, I'm really excited about it, right? Like, and you will, in the middle of it, you will really have a great time. But afterwards, you'll be really thankful that you went. So I appreciate the support, and I appreciate the camaraderie, and I appreciate everyone signing up to come out and have a little bit of fun with the Bastards. All right. Look, here's the lead block, and I'll be transparent with everybody with respect to this. Lead block, 24 September through 17 October. So we're going to do the ball, and then we're going to hit that lead block. All right. The word that I have given to the BLT is that for the companies, right, in the rifle companies, they will have a decision maker there, right? Preferably someone with a little bit of rank on their collar who can help us solve problems if there's weird planning things that have to occur. Within the shops in the battalion, everyone's gonna have a representative from that shop who can make calls or decisions, and that is how they're gonna kind of port starboard the lead block. For everybody else, take the lead block, right? Take it. I think many people have already purchased their tickets or made plans for what the lead block is going to look like. But I would be very interested to hear anybody who is having their lead block constrained by something that is emanating from me, because that is not that should not be the case. And so you and your family should be able to enjoy this lead block and that extended period of time to just relax and take care of some of the things, the traditional like house cleaning stuff that needs to occur before the execution of a long deployment like this. One additional thing that will happen is for the staff NCOs and officers, we're going to continue with our duty at the battalion space. So some of our younger officers and staff NCOs will have to stand duty during the lead block, and I think that all of those Marines know who they are. But beyond that, it's going to be great, and I recommend everyone celebrate Christmas over the lead block. Just a little trick of the trade there. Is get Christmas done, especially if you have kids. It's a good opportunity to celebrate that thing, because it is super sad being aboard ship and having Christmas roll around. We're going to try to make it good. I'm going to see if I can fill a quad con with a bunch of Christmas decorations and all of that stuff. We'll make chaps become Santa or something, and we'll have fun. Okay. All right, so there's a couple of other folks here before I'm going to turn it over to my wife, because really what I asked Beth to do was put together some thoughts for how to make this thing manageable from the perspective of a spouse, and to make it a little bit easier and a better experience than it would probably be otherwise. I'll turn it over to Sergeant Major here if he's got anything for you. If not, I can move on. All right.
First of all, I wanted to say a thank you to all the families for your love and support through the summer. I know it's been busy for us. I know it's been busy for you as your children are in school, out of school, summer, and all those additional stressors that we have at the household while your Marines are forward. So from the battalion, we want to say thank you for your love and support to your Marines, because we can see that through their performance. The second thing is I know we love time off, so talking the ball, What we're going to do is Thursday we'll have a formation. We'll get the Marines out of there. So Friday will be a travel day. So if you want to get to the ball, early and do certain things, then go ahead, do that. Take advantage of that time. Use it wisely. The last thing I want to say is the safety part behind this thing. The Marines have done well. It only takes a matter of minutes to be a game changer, a life-changing event. So please have a plan. Make sure your Marines are having a plan to do the Vegas thing, be safe, go and leave, come back, and then we will follow up with what he just briefed when it comes to the deployment. If you need anything, any concerns about anything with the battalion, Mark, I appreciate Mark all the time for communicating to us of any issues, concerns for the families, for the friends, the community. Shouts out to San Clemente. They always support our Marines on a daily basis through something. They did the 4th of July, they barbecue, they send the Marines on trips, they open up their jobs, their offices, their recommendations to the unit. So just appreciate those support from San Clemente. And I just wanted to say publicly before you see me in Vegas and not be able to really communicate with you the way I want to from having a good time with the Marines. We appreciate you. See you in Vegas. Be safe. And then, we'll continue to push this train. Semper Fidelis. Thank you. Sir?
Yeah, right. Thanks, Sergeant. All right. That's good. Good work. I love it. Okay, hey, was just conferring with some wise counsel here. Look, one of the other things I forgot to mention, and I was going to put it on the slide as another note, but does anybody know of anybody else who may be getting ready to have a kid right at the very beginning of the deployment? I think that there's a couple of Marines within the BLT. Look, so here's the information. If it starts coming around on Facebook, or kind of in the rumor mill, or it starts getting passed around. So look, there's a thing called late deployers. All right, and traditionally on a thing like the 31st MU, late deployers can be like the cutoff line is on the first day you get on ship on the 31st MU. Like you can have people deploy that late, and it's just a quick flight to Okinawa. For other deployments, it can vary. For ours, I am keenly interested in anybody who is getting ready to have is due probably in the first couple of weeks of this deployment, right? Because there may be an opportunity there that we will fight for to try to get that Marine deployed late, so that, because it is markedly important for me to ensure that a Marine, if we have the capability to do it, is able to watch the birth of his son or daughter, right? Like that is important to me. I have missed one of my daughter's births, and I did not like that feeling. So we would like to provide the Marine with that opportunity, and obviously there's a conversation that has to occur between myself and the MU commander. But as of right now, tentatively, here's kind of what the red line looks like, is when we go to depart Hawaii and we continue going west, that is the cutoff date, right? Because I have to be able to fly a Marine from mainland to Hawaii so that they can link back up with the ship. So everybody has to be on ship when we go to take off from Hawaii. So that is tentatively what this thing is going to look like right now. So if anybody knows of anybody, any other Marine or spouse who is worried about that, there is a solution, and we will find it. All right? We will then have to pay for that Marine's flight from here to Hawaii so that they pick back up with the ships, okay? So if anybody's concerned about that, I don't think that there's anybody in this room who is in that situation unless they don't want to raise their hands. But there is a solution, and anybody who is listening right now, we will find a solution, and I will get keenly interested in doing that. I say that to say this, that post that time, then that Marine has to be on ship. So if your due date is at the end of November, I can still probably late deploy them all the way up until the Hawaii time, right? But if you have not had that kid, then there is a likelihood that Marine is going to miss the birth of that child. All right, it's just the way that it is. So when I can lock down that date, I will communicate that date as well, what the actual physical date is in November. But the first thing is first, we just need to identify people who are in that situation or believe that they are in that situation so that we can examine the thing and develop a plan for that Marine and his family. Okay. All right. Do you have anything else, Stormy, around that? Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah. So there is there's a slip, like a piece of paper that I need to take a look at, right? That will have the projected date of birth, right? So that we can verify and validate that thing, and then we can develop a plan for the Marines going from there. If that makes sense. We'll just need the Marine to bring that to us. Okay. All right. Best chaplain in the Marine Corps, Chaplain Aaron Walling.
Chaplain Walling here. I actually prefer the best name in the Chaplain Corps, Bastard Chaps. Thankful to get to wear that name. People are always surprised that those two words can go together, but I wear that with pride. You know, as we think about spiritual readiness, as we think about just kind of that care of the inner being, I just would offer a quick thought on the emotions that we may be feeling. You know, things have been going fast and furious, and for these last 3 months, it's all been a blur. And sometimes when things begin to slow down, it kind of reveals things that have been there, you just haven't had time to think about. You can almost picture it like high tide. High tide is in, the water is covering everything, but when that water recedes, suddenly you find that there's things on the beach that were just covered up. And you know, as you walk that beach, maybe you find one shell and you're like, oh, I'm so happy that it's over. And there's just this feeling of relief and happiness and joy. But then right next to it, you find another one that it's like, wow, I'm also really sad for all the things that I missed. Maybe I did miss a birth. Maybe I missed a birthday. Maybe I missed an anniversary. Maybe I missed the death of somebody that I love. And that sadness may be directed at the job. That sadness sometimes may be directed at the other person, the spouse who's been behind, or the spouse may be feeling that towards the service member who was out there. And so what is it? Am I happy or am I sad? We find another shell on that beach and we feel excitement. We're getting ready to deploy. My goodness, we're going to Westpac Mew. This is what we train for. But then close to that, we also find this anxiety, this nervousness, this worry, this concern of what's it going to mean, you know, as we go halfway around the world. What about the loved ones that I'm leaving behind halfway around the world? What's it going to be for the one I love who is potentially in harm's way? And so am I excited or am I anxious? Am I happy or am I sad? And, you know, we tend to think in terms of either or, but I would offer you an alternative pairing, and that is the both and. That it's actually possible to be both happy and sad at the same time. It's possible to be both excited and nervous at the same time. We train to deploy, and when we talk about deployments, we're on the best kind of deployment you can imagine. This is the varsity level stuff. But our deployment, our service comes at a cost. It comes at a cost for the service member. It comes at a cost for the family. It comes at a cost for all involved. And we do ourselves a disservice when we deny that conflict. When we just say, you know what, I'm just going to be happy. I'll just live in this extreme of being happy, but we're not even acknowledging the fact that there is some heartache involved. Maybe we choose the other side. I'm just going to live in the heartache, but we're also doing ourselves a disservice that there's some really cool stuff that's going on. It's possible that both are true. Living in that both and. Both can be true at the same time. It's possible to be proud of our service and proud of our service member, and to also be a little angry. Man, why do you have to have the job that you have? Why do you have to leave me? Why do you have to go away? It's the both and the and. It's giving ourselves the permission to feel what we feel, to allow all of that to be in our awareness, because the more that we honestly acknowledge that, the better positioned we are to address those feelings in some very healthy ways. So I just a thought for you to consider the both and. I do want to share some exciting news that we just found out yesterday. You may be familiar with Credo and the marriage enrichment retreats that they often provide. These are retreats that are put on free of charge to service members and their families. They will find a nice hotel, a resort-like hotel, and will pay for an entire weekend for a couple to get away, to receive some valuable training, but also just to get to enjoy a couple of free nights in a hotel, some free food, free lodging, even some just downtime. Just go and enjoy being together. The issue we face with the retreats, though, is that, as you can imagine, when that word gets out, the spots are gone in a heartbeat. They have found a retreat that they are protecting specifically for the 13th MU. They are giving us first dibs on those spots and those slots. And those flyers, that application is out right now. Let me give you some dates that you can have in your mind. It's the 28th to 30th of October. It'll be at the Sheraton in San Diego. And that information has been sent to your leaders. Mark, thankfully, also sent that out in the Bastard Blast that came out just last night, this morning. And so in that, there is some kind of further details, kind of who it's for. It's for couples. Unfortunately, there's no child care provided. But again, that's kind of the purpose. It's the purpose for a couple to be able to get away and really enjoy that time together. And if you think about the time frame, that's just within a week or two before we leave. So it's perfect timing for us to be able to take advantage of it. There is also an application. That application is included, both your leaders have that, as well as it was in the Bastard Blast. If you'll fill out that information, scan that information, and there is an email contained in that flyer that sends it directly to the Credo office. You can do all of that on your own and get yourself on not just that waiting list, but actually one of those slots. And so I would offer you the idea that here's another both and, because those retreats are going to be both bougie and absolutely free. And it's your opportunity, so I encourage you to take advantage of that. But peace and blessings to you. Thank you. All right, sir.
All right, want to take an opportunity to have Beth Anderson come up, who is our family life counselor here for the Marines. You can talk wherever you want, Beth, wherever you want. You're okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Okay, hi everybody. My name's Beth Anderson. I am the military and family life counselor for 2-4. And so I just want to introduce a little bit about myself. So Beth Anderson, I have a master's degree in clinical psychology with an emphasis in marriage and family therapy. And I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California. And so what that means for you guys is that, I am an LMFT, a therapist, and I'm the MFLAC, the Military and Family Life Counselor for 2-4. So basically you have an embedded counselor in your battalion, and what I do is provide confidential, non-medical counseling. The confidential part means that we don't keep notes or records. We cannot confirm or deny if we're talking to anyone, so it's supposed to be an anonymous service that people can reach out to if they're worried about seeking counseling for anything. The exception to that would be harm to self or others. And then it's considered non-medical, so what that means is like everyday stressor stuff, which could be personal life, work-related, and relationships. So I'm available to spouses. Spouses can reach out to me directly for, I'm available to active duty and their dependents. So spouses, families, couples, you can just reach out to me directly. One thing that I want to mention for spouses is that I do have an office on base near the command post, and I also can meet off base, and I will do that sometimes if it's more convenient for the spouse. I can meet at a park, especially like if somebody has kids or a baby, we can meet at a park and have their baby in the stroller or whatever. That works out too. So I am allowed to do that if that's more convenient. So one thing I want to talk about today, it's just perfect timing, is that we have a tool called the relationship checkup. And I know a lot of times I will see couples right before deployment who really want to strengthen their connection with each other. And that is something that the relationship checkup is helpful for. So it's basically, you say you want to meet with me, and then if you want to do the relationship checkup, there's a questionnaire that you fill out, and it kind of goes over your strengths as a couple, and then maybe some areas of challenge or struggle. And then we just kind of focus on your strengths as a couple so that you can remember what's going good in your relationship and kind of reinforce that. And then we choose one area to talk about that's maybe a challenge. Sometimes it's nice to have the questionnaire because you can go through a lot of list of things that maybe you're thinking, oh, I'm thinking about that, worried about that, but there's this one thing that I actually really want to talk about. So it kind of helps to define that, and then we can do something practical about it. So I just want to give that out to you guys as a tool. It's completed in like 1 or 2 sessions. We can do it in 1 session. So it's short term, it's easy, and I just want you guys to know that that's available too. So anyway, that's all I have to say about MFLAC. Please reach out. Okay.
Okay, as you can see right here, we have a lot of important contact information, which includes some of the presenters that have already been up here. This informational slide will also accompany out. It will be available when I put out the information on the recording of this, so you'll be able to view this in probably finer detail than how this shows up on the video. But all these are important numbers and available to you now and throughout the deployment. And here are some more important resources that we have. American Red Cross was already brought up. I know that we had the ladders briefs here over the last 3 months that we had in conjunction with all the MSCs, which are the major subordinate elements of the 13th MU. We met these 3 last months, and basically it's like a links class, but for a little bit with a deployment spin on it. And that's one reason why we don't have one of these down and dirty pre-deployment briefs that sometimes, if any of you have been through them before, where we sit in here arduously for hours on end and drone on about all the things that can happen during a deployment and preparation. Because why? We've already done it. And I put out a blurb last week that has all 3 of those sessions out there that you can go out and look at those recordings with all the handouts, and those will be available for the next few weeks to you here and also to our families that are out there. So if you missed them, please take a look at that email that I sent out last week that has those 3 recording sessions, and open them up, review them. I know a couple of them are a little bit hard to hear on them. Turn up the volume all the way, but then also look at the handouts that are associated with them. And one of the other things that we talked about that, though, to refer back to the slide here, is American Red Cross. We talked about how to do an emergency message that will get out to your Marine or sailor while they're underway. It's a very simple process. They have a 24/7 call center that's available to you at that phone number there. You also see that there is a Hero Care app. That app you can download both on Android and iPhones. Download it. There's already directions out there on how to do this. You can also, if you know something's coming up, like with a birth, or if there's a family member that's going into hospice, okay, you got time where you can download this app, put in all the information, and get that out, especially if you know the event is coming up quick. And then also the website itself, okay? Multiple ways of doing this. Red Cross will help you. I will help you. And if you cannot get a hold of the Red Cross or myself because of communication problems, contact our officer of the day, which was on the previous slide. Our officer of the day, until otherwise noted, we will have a duty at the command center throughout the deployment unless they are pulled up to regiment to cover other areas, in which case then that phone number will still be used, because what we'll do is we'll forward it to the regimental command duty officer phone so that it will be monitored regardless throughout the deployment. So there's always going to be somebody you can contact 24/7. The Armed Forces YMCA, of course, does a lot of things for our service members and families. One of the things that a lot of you, show of hands, how many of you family members here during deployment are thinking about going and moving back home to wherever that may be? How many? Anybody? I see a few. Okay. Please, before you depart, make sure that your Marine or sailor updates their record of emergency data with your physical location of where you're going to be residing at. It's very important, because if a notification does require a physical presence to go and knock on somebody's door, they don't want to be knocking at a door with your old residence back here in California. They need to know that you are now living back east, back in the Midwest or whatever, and have a good address. I know some of you may not go back for the whole entire period, and that's fine. You don't necessarily have to update your record of emergency data, but one of the things that we can do internally for the family contacts is notify me by sending me an email, and this includes you out there too, that if you're going to go and be gone for something for a couple months, okay, especially for those of you that do not have school-age children and are bound to stay in one location, let me know that you're going to be out of the area for a couple months, even if it's 30 days, 45 days, whatever. What I'll do is I'll put that address aside and have it readily available in the event that it needs to be used, because your Marine's record will be pulled and somebody will try to contact you, and the last thing that sometimes they want to do is just call you. That is the last resort. They like to, sometimes if it's very important or something that needs to be handled personally, they want to see you face to face. So it's important to always let us know where you're going to be at during the deployment. Military One Source, great resource itself. They answer the phones 24/7. They have a lot of great assets out there. They're also taking over the mental health portion that was just turned over with the call center. They're providing active duty veterans, family members, 24/7 counseling services in order to help reduce the suicide rates that are currently occurring with a lot of our veterans and service members that are not dealing with the stressors of active service or even sometimes reserve status or being activated for long periods of time. This is a very concerning effort. And this is the National Suicide Awareness Month. We need to push that forward because deployments can be a very lonely period of time, not only for service members, but also their family members as well. Please get that information out there and let them know that Military One Source is a great way for them to at least contact somebody. Always reach out to somebody. We're here to help. And then Marine Corps Family Team Building. They have a lot of resources there with classes, both personal and professional growth. For spouses, they have the military, I lost the term, the exact term, but spouse employment, okay? They have a big turnover on that. We're trying to keep our basically overqualified spouses. If you are looking at advancing in your education, your experience, job experience, or getting a new career path, we have those resources available through our Marine Corps Family Team Building. It's a great way to get started on those. And one of the things that I always do when I'm up here is I always pitch on volunteering. We have a need for volunteers all the time, and those are appointed and non-appointed. We have a few ladies that have stepped up recently or becoming appointed volunteers. For volunteers that we do have in the audience, I would like to meet with you after the conclusion of this for about 5 minutes. I know I talked to Taylor Weldon earlier, but I want to speak to the rest of you that are here in attendance. If you're interested in volunteering, come on up and let me know, okay? But we always have a need. For those of you that just want to help out when you can or when the timing is right for it, we have new moms that are always going to need help with a newborn, and especially if they have little ones at home. We also have the issues where maybe mom gets ill. Who does she call back here to help out, take care of the young ones while she's trying to get better, okay? Family care plans, having a neighbor, having a loved one or somebody you can trust nearby that can respond to you in a moment's notice is something that you really need to have set in place now and moving forward to ensure that you have a good handoff, okay? The last thing that we need to have is one of our parents back here during a deployment, when the service member is half a world away, become incapacitated, not have a family care plan, and then Child Protective Services steps in because the hospital doesn't have anywhere to put that child in a safe environment. And now we have to work through the state of California and the Child Protective Services and find out who is legally available to go ahead and take care of those children in that parent's absence or until the service member can be recalled from wherever they happen to be deployed to get back and assist with that family situation. And that's only if it's approved through emergency message and by the commanders, okay? Something to ponder and think about. So you need to make sure that that stuff is in place before you step off. These are the kind of things that the CO was talking about earlier, having your house in order, okay? I put out there on a few occasions with the blast. There's a lot of great information out there, both locally and in and about the area, but I have also attached with it the deployment handbook, okay? I know that deployment handbook is all-encompassing, it's rather long, but if you look through it, it has a few checklists, and those checklists that are in there include pieces on there that allow you to go ahead and find out just where you're at in the process. Please make sure that you review those before your Marine or sailor comes back off of this leave and liberty period that they're going to go out on, and give it a good once over to make sure you have a good deployment binder put together with all your emergency contacts, okay? And last, if you need to get a hold of me, like everybody else here that's taking off on vacation, I am too. I haven't taken a vacation since this unit deployed last time, so it's about due. I will see you after all of you get back, and I will be out of the country, so can't get a hold of me. My sergeants, I have now 2 assistants. One is training up right now, Sergeant Johnston. He is replacing Sergeant Johnson, who just re-enlisted and is going to go out on I&I duty at the beginning of the year. But I do have people that will be answering the phone, taking care of business in my absence. So again, reach out to us if you need help or assistance. We're always there to help. I don't know it all. I've been a Marine, I was active duty Marine for 30 years. I've been doing this job now for over 10. I like to think I'm doing a decent job, but at the same time, I don't know it all, even after all that time. But I have a good idea of where things are at, where to go. I also talk and listen to people and understand what your needs, wants, desires are in these things to help you meet up with those challenges. So I don't do things cookie cutter. I don't pull it off of a shelf and say, yep, this fits that person. No, they're all individually tailored to you. So please let us know how we can help and assist you, okay? Now, I told you we had a special guest coming on up, and she did this again, last time too. And it's my pleasure to introduce the CO's wife, Bethany Redinger, for our closeout session.
Okay, hi all. I'm Bethany, as it says on this lovely slide, and Jared is my husband. We have been married for 14 years officially, 1 extra year before that in secret. I'm sure some of you all know about that. And we've been together for 18 years. So this is not my first rodeo. If you came to the last pre-deployment brief or watched it online, you saw me speak then too. And I spoke to 2 main tenets. One is connection to your Marine or sailor, figuring out how to stay connected during what we just did. So if you're taking a collective sigh of relief with me, You're not alone. That was miserable. It's miserable every time. That's the 4th MU workup I've done. It was not easier. So that, connection, and then 2, communication with your partner as well. So to do something a little bit different today, Jared asked me to make sure that we are addressing the folks who are not deploying, because there are a lot of mixed emotions, and Chaps and I didn't talk today at all about what he was gonna talk about, but there are a lot of mixed emotions that come with deployment. Your Marine, if he hasn't articulated it to you, is probably really excited to go on deployment. And after the summer that we just did not have with our Marines, that sometimes might be really hard to support and give space to, because you've been alone. You've been doing it alone. You've been figuring it out alone. We just had this massive heat wave. Groceries are super expensive. Pick a reason, right? Your Marine is about to go do the thing that he joined the Marine Corps for. When he talks about being a Marine, this is what he's talking about. And so my hope for you is that by the end of this deployment, both sides of your marriage have figured out how to hold both the frustration, maybe, and anger, maybe, and sadness and missing, and the excitement, and the joy, and the pride. If you have not been to the Marine Corps Ball yet, I promise you that your pride in your Marine is going to be activated next weekend, because there is nothing like the beginning of the Marine Corps Ball to remind you of how proud you are of your Marine. And if you haven't felt that yet, I'm so excited for you. I tear up all the time. I'm a highly emotional person, but it's very hard for me to get through the beginning of the Marine Corps Ball without being so incredibly proud of what I'm connected to. And there's a little bit of something there that also reminds me that it is okay that he's gonna go deploy again for me, again and again. All right, so what I wanted to provide to you and what Jared asked for me to do is maybe just a list of like tips and tricks to get through deployment, but they really feel a lot bigger than tips and tricks. So I polled folks, 20 seasoned military spouses, some enlisted, some officers, 1 person from the Navy, 1 person from the Army. So we've got a host of women here providing information for me. And so I have created a list. I'm gonna give you my email address at the end of my talking, and yes, I'm acutely aware of the time. I'm gonna try to go quickly so you can leave by 4, as was promised. But I've talked to so many people about what we do to get through deployment, and so Marines, I'm sorry, a lot of this is not for you. Everything else has been for you. All summer, maybe for the past 2 years, maybe for 18 years. This slideshow is gonna be for the spouses, okay? So specifically for moms, I've got a couple here. I'm not gonna talk about all of them, but I am gonna talk about a few of them, because I find that as I was going through these 20 friends of mine I opened up the text chain, I said, hey, give me some of your best practices, please just give me 2. I had friends continuously texting me over the past few days, oh, and I remembered this. Oh, and I remembered this. Oh my God, this thing I did, it actually saved me. So I really had to pare it down, but a lot of these have been recommended by so many different people, okay? So one friend said, have a standing date night. Even from now to when your Marine leaves, go out. You don't have to pay to go out either. If money is a thing, it doesn't have to be, right? You can go do free stuff in town. But when your Marine leaves, keep that night. Maybe it's the second night of the month. Maybe it's every other Friday night. Whatever it is, keep that date with yourself. Make plans with friends. Pick a new place in town you want to go see, or a restaurant you want to try. Honor that thing that you got from your date with your Marine and still give it to yourself. I thought that was a really good one. I've never done that, but I'm going to give it a try. The second one sounds like a really silly thing. This is actually for everybody, but especially if you stay home, and especially if you have a baby. There is a host of data indicating that if you wash your face or take a shower and get dressed, even if you're just changing from one pair of black yoga pants to the next pair of black yoga pants every single day, something changes in your body where you're activated. You realize, okay, I gotta be human today. And it may or may not have anything to do with the fact that your Marine is gone. It might just be because you're alone. You're in a new place. This is not your home. You haven't found your people yet. Little tiny tips and tricks of life, that one is. Another thing that I have done So, y'all, I had 4 kids before any of them went to school. 4 children in my house at all times before anyone was old enough to leave my house, and I did 2 deployments like that, back to back, with 5 months in the middle of them, and one of them was a combat deployment. So you can imagine, my Marine was never coming home, even when he wasn't deployed, because we had those lovely workups that we just did. So I created something that marked the weekend every weekend. So on Friday night, we went to the same pizza place every Friday night, because I needed to tell myself, my body, my kids, there is a change now. It's the weekend, because otherwise, if y'all have little kids, you know what I'm talking about. Every single day is exactly the same. There is no change. So creating these little tips and tricks for us to celebrate one more week down, one more week gone. I've done a great job for one more week. Some people said Saturday pancakes. I had lots of friends who say that Sunday is the hardest day. I think I've got that up here somewhere. Plan stuff to do on a Sunday. Get out of the house, go explore, go to the beach. Gosh, we live here. This is such a gorgeous place to live. So all kinds of little things to mark the weekend. It just helps you passing the time and congratulating yourself, as silly and like hoo-hoo as that sounds, that we've gotten through another week. Okay, another super important one that I'm not gonna skip is find a babysitter that you trust. It is worth the money, I promise. For your own well-being, for your marriage, for your children, it is worth the money. If you don't feel like you have the money to get a babysitter, have a friend and do a kid swap. I used to do that. Nobody wanted to take my 4 kids, but when I only had 1 or 2, I often did that. We did a swap. I would take her kids for 3 hours on a Saturday, and she would take my kids for 2 hours on a Sunday. There was no payment required. I trusted them. She trusted me, and it was a beautiful way for me to help her through the deployment and for her to help me through the deployment. Couple other things here. When you're losing, I was about to curse. When you're about to lose it on your kids, count to 5. It is, I have gone it the wrong way, but this was a really good one that really helps. When you're alone, if you're parenting, day in, day out, you're the only parent. Unfortunately, for those of us who've just done the workup, we've been doing this already for a really long time, so you could probably try this today. But right before you're gonna lose it and do something you regret, count to 5. It slows you down. It physiologically reduces your heart rate, reduces your temperature, calms you just enough so that you can either walk away or give an adequate response. If you know about daddy dolls, I was gonna bring one, but I forgot about it. It's a little stuffy. Anybody's kids have daddy dolls? Yeah, okay. I encourage my kids to use their daddy dolls, not just as a comfort when they miss their dad, but also as an appropriate receptor for the feelings that your kids are gonna have when your husband is gone. If you're sad, angry, excited, tell your daddy doll. Sounds kind of hokey. My 11-year-old is not like this. She's not down with that. She's not gonna talk to her daddy doll anymore, but my 6-year-old has full-on conversations with her daddy doll many times a week. So another pretty cool trick there. All right, okay, so for everyone, and I have 3 sides of this, so I'm gonna go quick. I don't wanna waste your time. But one of the most important ones that I wanna talk about is actually what self-care looks like, and Chap's kind of tapped into this also. There are actually 4 specific categories of self-care, and going and getting your hair done and your nails done and going shopping, that feels really good, believe me. But it doesn't feel good forever, and it doesn't last. And then you have to do it again and again and again, and you still may be feeling some of the things that activated you to do that in the first place. So if we're touching on actual self-care, it has 4 components: the emotional component, the physical component, spiritual component, and the mental component. Chap's talked a little about the emotions. Being honest with yourself and being honest with your partner about what you're actually feeling. Anger is the first feeling. What's the feeling under there? Sad, resentful, lonely. You need to be honest about those things so that you can work through them. Physical, I hate running. All of my friends said, go for a run every day. I'm never doing that, but some of y'all might like to run. But the physical component, whatever it is really important. It might just be walking. It might be yoga. It might be stretching. It might just be being outdoors and moving your body. Whatever it is that you choose to do, that is a huge facet of maintaining your own wellness. Spiritual is pretty self-explanatory, but even if you're not connected with the church and even if you're not really sure what you believe in, there is something you believe in, and tapping into it and giving yourself time to focus there. Maybe it's just praying because you're not sure about church. Maybe it's meditation. Accessing that part of yourself and satisfying a need you maybe didn't know you have is a really important part of self-care too. And then mental. If you're going to work every day, that's awesome. That'll stretch your brain. That'll keep you mentally capable. If, like me, you're staying home, like when my kids were really little, your mental part is broken. You forgot that you were an intelligent person. You don't know how to have real conversations. You're talking to someone and they're staring at the puke stain on your shoulder from your baby. So that means you really do need to access that part of yourself that is mentally capable. It's reading, it's listening to intelligent podcasts, it's finding really cool, interesting people to talk to that maybe you wouldn't be friends with otherwise. That's a gift of being in the Marine Corps. We've got a lot of folks that maybe you wouldn't be friends with. They can help you activate that mental aspect too. The last one, every single one of my friends told me in some way, this last one, and this was one of my suggestions too. After your Marine leaves, you're gonna need to be connected to other people. If you're a woman, it's probably other women. And for your marriage, I would encourage you strongly to look first for other women. But when they invite you to do something, say yes. Say yes. I have done super random stuff on deployments, especially before I had kids, that I probably wouldn't have done before because someone invited me. I went to Stagecoach on free tickets. Some of you know that that's a big deal. I didn't at that time. I had no idea. My friend won them on the radio. She's like, do you want to go to this country music festival? Sure, let's go. I went to Palm Springs. I went camping. I went to Phoenix to ride horses at somebody's mom's ranch. Like, I said yes to everything. And guess what? Every single one of those experiences was incredible. Enough for me to remember over a decade later, and I'm telling you. So there are going to be really beautiful things that happen for those of us who are here while the Marines are deployed, but you don't get them unless you say yes. And if you find out that you're not connecting with anyone and nobody is planning those things, be the planner. Go out on a limb. It's okay if you're nervous. Nobody's gonna turn down a good time, okay? So keep that in mind. All right, this is my very favorite, plan something to look forward to each month. I have everything, every single month until March, I've already got my one big thing for each month to look forward to. Because what I've found is that as soon as the one awesome thing of this month is gone, I get sad. I really miss my husband. I really like him. I know he just delivered a bunch of like really heavy, difficult information to you, but he's actually a fun guy, I promise. And when he's gone, I miss him. The space that he should be occupying in my house is tangible. I want him there. And once I'm past the sad part at the beginning of deployment, now all the fun stuff happens, and I wish that he was part of it. So one of the things that gets me through that and encourages my kids to also be excited about being alive and having this life that we live is to have something every single month to look forward to, so that when one thing is over and I'm feeling a little sad, I really wish my Marine was there, I can just turn my brain to the next thing I've got going on. So that's a really important one. And again, that's not financially restrictive at all. It doesn't have to be anything huge. It doesn't have to be a trip. It has to be something to look forward to. All right. You can read, so I'm not gonna read all of these. I will show you the next slide too, and again, I'll give you my email address at the end if anybody's interested in these. But the one I really do wanna talk about is the second one, okay? When you're not in your contact with your Marine, which my husband has already told you is gonna be the majority of the deployment, be aware of the danger of viewing your Marine as either the villain who has caused this aloneness, this sorrow, this anger, whatever you're feeling, or the hero. Oh my God, when my Marine comes home, it's gonna be so much better. Everything is better, he'll fix it all. Y'all, we just did so many weeks of not actually having our Marines around, even when they were around. So when we idealize this beautiful, sunny rainbows and butterflies when he comes home, we're doing everyone a disservice. The Marine can't possibly live up to that when he gets home. And it's actually not like that. You have to figure out how to live together again. So when you're in that situation, realize, oh geez, I'm having a lot of feelings, or he's having a lot of feelings, or both, or maybe I just miss him, but he's neither the villain, and he's also not the hero of your life. You are going to have a lot of fun with people who you will grow to care about while they're gone. You're going to. It's gonna happen. And in the beginning, you might feel bad about it. Now, some people, one of my dearest friends who can't be here today, but she's going through this deployment with us too, she reminded me that some people don't mind deployments. Some people are so used to just doing all of the things day in and day out that they don't really mind deployments. That is also fine. One of the things that I would also caution you against, which I didn't put on the slide, is judging yourself and your response to this deployment in relation to anyone else. You might be excited for your Marine to leave, and that is okay, because this ship ops over the summer has been so miserable that if you're like me, I just want the deployment to start so that I can begin counting down. I want it to be over. I wish the first time they got on the ship that was the beginning of deployment. And it's not because I don't want to hang out with my husband, it's because I would really like for this to be over. So there is a really wide spectrum of feelings that folks are going to have about this deployment on both sides, and all of them are normal and none of them are wrong. Please keep that in mind. All right. One other thing, the second to last here, indulge yourself in a guilty pleasure to celebrate the passing of each week. This was also something else that almost every single one of my friends said. One friend watched one episode of Army Wives every single Sunday for the entire deployment, and that was her guilty pleasure. It's really funny to watch Army Wives. If you haven't done it, it's like good comedy and also a little bit true. I ate an entire bag of peanut M&Ms every single Sunday night during 2 deployments in a row. I was pregnant both times, so I couldn't drink. So another friend went on her longest run on Sundays. But allow yourself some of the things that you really just wouldn't allow yourself, and also use it as a marker, like, hey, another week gone. Okay, 2 more, 3 more, and then I'll be done. Okay, ask for help, really, really hard. I am assuming that most of you have been chosen by your Marines, and you have chosen them because you're super competent, super capable, excellent humans. That often means super competent, super excellent humans don't ask other people for help because they believe that they should be doing it on their own. That's a myth. That's a lie. We've told ourselves that we're supposed to do anything alone. Parenting, life, work, moving, living away from families. Don't believe that myth. Ask for help. Other people want to be of service to you. Just today alone, the whole community, this church, the organization has all here. The people are walking around outside smiling, watching you eat cheeseburgers and ribs. Like, they want to help you. Your neighbor on your street who seems like a kind of a weird old lady who's like, anything you ever need, she actually means it. Don't deny other people the opportunity to serve you. Say yes. Say yes. All right, this is a trick for when you actually do get to talk to your Marine. I had a friend tell me about this, her communication sandwich. Do not get on the phone and gloss everything over as sunshine and rainbows if it's not that way. You do deserve to be honest with your Marine. And then conversely, don't just get on the phone and tell him the whole world is falling apart and you hate him, right? These are the poles, and neither of those places are good places to live. She always does a sandwich. Tell him one good thing, have a great conversation, I miss you so much, I'm glad to hear your voice. Tell him the thing you have to tell him that is probably really crappy, and then tell him something else awesome. It's a strategy that people have been using in communication for a really long time, usually in work, but it actually helps. The other thing that I do want to tell you, because I was talking to Jared about this, is if you have stuff that you need to unload, sometimes your husband is not the best person to unload it on, because he is the entire largest ocean in the world away from you, and there is nothing he can do to help you. You should tell him, don't cut him out, like he's a big boy, he can handle it, but our things that we need to work through, we're going to have to work through together, which goes back to my original point and from my last talking at the other brief. You need to find your people. Your Marine wants to help you, he can't. He can't, he's on a ship. Ship life is miserable. He wants to be home with you. He wants to help you feel better. He can't. So I would just encourage a caution of how heavily we dump on our Marines who want nothing more than to be home with us. All right, and then 2 more. 1, embrace the suck. This is gonna suck. We talked about it for this workup. It just is. This is like a very common saying in Marine Corps life. Sometimes you just gotta embrace it. And this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, how I wish deployment had already started, because then my countdown would be on. It would be ticking away minutes at a time, every single minute getting closer to our reunion, to our homecoming. That's me embracing the suck. That's how I do it. You're gonna have to figure out in your marriage what that looks like for you. But you can't run away from it. You can't go around it. You can't skip it. You can't just close your eyes and think maybe no one will see you. It's gonna happen. It's happening. We're in it. So just embrace it. Here we go. Let's get this done with. And then my last thing, and I hope to share this with you when we're getting close to them coming home, it goes to another point I made tonight, which is homecoming is a process. We will have a beautiful homecoming at some point, late spring, early summer of next year. It will be awesome. You will all look fabulous. Your kids will be amazing. Homecomings are like the best part of the Marine Corps. However, it is not just a single day. It is a process. So when you glamorize in your head how much better it would be if he was home, you're not doing credit to the excellent work you're doing at home, the excellent work he's doing as a Marine, and it's also an impossible thing to live up to. Homecoming will be amazing, and then it will be a transition period that we're all gonna get through. So I'm just cautioning you against that unrealistic expectation of things will be perfect if he was just here. That's not true. You're doing a really good job by yourself, and he's doing a really good job as a Marine, and you will be together again, but that too is a process. I wanted to say one more thing that's not on the slides. Jared was talking earlier, and I interrupted him, and I'm sure that was all really annoying for you. It was really annoying for him. Sorry, babe. But he was talking about the day that they're leaving. When Marines are attached to the Navy, things can change. So the date might change. It's not Marine's fault. It's not even my Marine's fault. It's no one's fault. Sometimes ships break down in various ports around the world, and so all of a sudden your Marine has like 2 days of liberty that he didn't know he was gonna have, and you feel like he's on vacation, but he's not, and it's not his fault. It's the Navy's fault. Things change all the time on deployment. Well, that's how I don't wanna get mad at him, and I don't wanna get mad at the Marine Corps, so I just get mad at the Navy. Things change all the time. So Jared was talking earlier about, like, you know, it turns your Marine into a liar. Your Marine is not lying to you at the time that he gives you information. Things change. So I'm not sure if it's on this slide, it's on another one, but one of the greatest sayings I always try to live by is to just manage expectations, because expectations are planned disappointment. That's not fair to either of you. All right, so I didn't give my husband my email address to put in this slide, but I'd be happy to share my email address with anybody who wants to come up and give it. I'd be happy to share those slides. I'm also happy to talk to anybody who wants to talk about, hey, I've never done this before, or I have, but I haven't done a MU, or anything, really, because I am at a point now where I'm super grateful for all of the people who've done this before me and have helped me figure out how to be awesome because of and despite the challenges of the Marine Corps, and I'd love to share that with anybody who wants to chat about it. I'm not gonna ask any questions, but I think Jared's gonna answer any questions that anybody has got.
Good work. All right, so I'm gonna finish this up really quickly, and then we can turn over to questions. All right. Like, I know that most of the things that I said were kind of negative and scary and probably pretty boring, but look, here's the deal. For those who are listening and for everyone who is here, like, deployment, like, this is why we joined the Marine Corps. Like, what we're getting ready to do is the thing. So there is excitement here from the BLT standpoint. The amount of work that we have put into doing this, right? All of the small unit leaders, all of the actions that everybody within the BLT has taken, all of this time on ship, like, we have worked since I've been here for 19 months with the battalion. We have been working to get to this point. And so we just need to get out the door, right? To go do the thing that we joined the Marine Corps for, right? Now, the thing that, about this brief that is interesting is you very quickly realize that it's not just the Marines who are deploying, right? We are going. right? But everybody here and everybody who's listening and the entire extended family, all of the people, we are all deploying together, right? And that is the purpose of this brief, is for everyone to understand what this thing will look like, and so that we can do this thing together, all right? But make no mistake about it, right? Like, this is what the United States Marine Corps is about, and it is a beautiful thing. It is hard, right? We embrace the suck, but it is hard. It's hard, but that's why we joined. When all of us raised our right hand, and of course, spouses and kids didn't have to raise their right hands, right? You just kind of got drug along into this thing, right? But as we raised our right hands, right, and we took the oath to do this thing, right, what we were taking an oath to do was to sacrifice on behalf of our country. This is what sacrifice looks like. And we're all going to do this thing together, and I really appreciate everyone who is going to sacrifice right along with us. Whether or not you took that, you took that oath, right? You are going to sacrifice right along with us. And the thing about it is that later on in life, right, when everyone is talking to us and saying things like, hey, thanks for your service, or wow, that must have been so hard. Like, how did you do that? And you get to stand there proudly and say, yeah, it was really hard. Like, it was really hard, but I'm still standing here, and it was a rewarding experience. And we're proud of the service that we put forth to our country, right? You don't get to say that unless you earn it. And we collectively are going to earn that thing for the rest of our lives. When we come back from this deployment, right, all the Marines will be able to say that they served their country, and all of the spouses and children will be able to say that they served their countries as well. And no one will ever be able to ask anything additional of you if you choose not to. Like, that's what this thing is about. And I personally have been doing it my entire adult life, and I know that there's a lot of folks here who've been doing the same thing, and we are proud of that thing. But to be proud of something, right, and to do it, it requires the sacrifice, and sometimes it is hard. And very few things that are good are worth having if they're not hard. All right? So I really do appreciate everyone making that sacrifice right along with us. Now, I want to put a plug in again. Some of you may have heard me talk about Sally. Right? Somewhere within the BLT, there is an 18 or a 19-year-old girl. Right? I call her Sally. You can call her whatever you want. Right? But you all are here. Right? And then there are people on the net right now watching this thing from the comfort of their homes. Okay? Somewhere there is an 18-year-old girl or a 19-year-old girl who moved here a couple of months ago and still has not made any friends. She's sitting in her house, and her husband, who hasn't told her anything about what's getting ready to happen, is getting ready to depart for anywhere between 7 to 9 months. And she is in a place that she doesn't know. She doesn't have any friends. She might not even have a car. And she doesn't know how to contact anybody. I ask that we collectively find a way to get to her. Because we know that this thing is going to be difficult, no matter which way you slice it. It's going to be difficult no matter how prepared you are for it, right? But imagine how difficult it is for the 18 or 19-year-old girl from Oklahoma named Sally, who's now living in Southern California in an apartment in Oceanside. So she's sitting there right now trying to figure out what she's going to do with her life. So I ask that we collectively bring it together and find her in whatever way that we can. And if she reaches out, if she comes up on the net somewhere on the 2-4 Facebook page or Instagram or something, if she raises her head above the fighting position for just a second, find her and bring her into the fold in whichever way that you can. Because it is not survivable otherwise. It's just not. We need each other to do this, and we need each other to do this well. And the family that gets built back here directly translates to success for us, for the Marines who go forward in the execution of the things that we need. You're Beth talking about something as simple as when you finally do get the phone conversation and you're talking about that thing, like, hey, yeah, something happened in the house and now there's a flood downstairs, right? And also, I left the dog in the car and he chewed up all the seats. But that's okay because the car doesn't run anyway now, right? Like that thing that happens and you're giving that to the Marine, right? That goes into the Marine's brain, whether or not he can do anything about it, right? Imagine if you're able to say, hey, check it out, here's what happened. Like the downstairs flooded, right? But Jane from down the street came over and is helping out. Her husband is there. We've got a couple of other folks who are coming over to get this thing figured out. It's gonna be fine. I just wanted to let you know that the downstairs flooded, right? That Marine, in the event that he goes into harm's way or has to do something, right, for the country, he's able to do that with a happy heart knowing that everything here is taken care of. Everything here is taken care of and it's gonna be great, right? And that he will then plug himself back in when he's able to come back in that process that Beth was talking about, right? So we have to work together collectively as we deploy, you know, those of us who are going forward, and everyone here has to work collectively. It cannot be done by yourself. It just can't. Or at least it can't be done well, in my estimation. All right, so some of those tricks of the trade I think are remarkably important, right? And I hope that, you know, people don't think that we're lecturing or anything like that, but I think that most of the people who came up here and communicated, we really do legitimately care, right, about one, this deployment going well, and we do care about the families who we leave behind back here who are bearing the same burden that we are bearing. Right? So that will require active work in order to make that thing go well, so that we can all you know take care of our roles in this particular event. All right, our role deploying is no more important than the role that any of the spouses or kids play back here. It's just not. Without you, we cannot be successful. So I appreciate everyone coming here and listening to this. If there's additional information that you want, we're gonna stick around after this, and I'll talk to whoever wants to talk to me for as long as you want to talk to me. Beth will do the same. Sergeant Major will be here. Exo will be here, and he won't want to talk to anybody. But hey, real quick, if I turn it over to the room, does anybody have any questions? I know we've been here for a long time, and when you have briefs this long, people have a tendency to just not want to ask questions because they want the thing to be over, and I get it. Anything? Anything come through the net, Mark? All right. Hey, thank you all. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you sitting through this really long brief and listening to the things that we're saying. This thing is going to be awesome. It's going to be good. It's going to be hard. And then we'll all be able to say we served our country. All right. Thank you.